You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill news for Wednesday, April 10th. Well, William Barr testified before Congress yesterday, and his testimony continues today. Barr said today that spying on the 2016 Trump campaign by the former administration did, in fact, occur. Attorney General Bill Barr said in a Senate hearing Wednesday that he believes Trump's campaign was spied on during the 2016 election. I am going to be reviewing both the genesis and the conduct of intelligence activities directed at the Trump campaign during 2016, Barr said. I think spying did occur, Barr said to Democrat Senator Jeanne Shaheen, but the question is whether it was adequately predicated, and I am not suggesting that it wasn't adequately predicated, but I need to explore that. I think that's my obligation. I'm not suggesting those rules were violated, but I think it's important to look at it. And I am not talking about the FBI necessarily, but intelligence agencies more broadly. I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. It's a big deal, Barr added that Democrat hack Shaheen asked why he would be investigating the spying by the former administration's corrupt officials. Congress is usually very concerned about intel agencies and law enforcement agencies staying in their proper lane. We have a lot of rules about that, Barr said, scolding Shaheen. Barr said there was a basis for his concern, but he did not elaborate. I think we already know what that basis is, but let's go ahead and take a listen to Attorney General William Barr after this brief word from our sponsor. If you can, remember the horror of the 2008 recession and how it caught millions of Americans off guard. With that in mind, I'm sure you'll want to know that the next recession is just creeping around the corner. The market drops we saw in September and December last year were just the warning signs. One man, who I trust has the guts to speak the truth on America's secrets that are hiding in plain sight. You've probably heard of him, best-selling author Doug Casey. He's been called America's top legendary speculator, and every major political and economic forecast Doug has ever made over the last 3 decades came true. His research shows a major stock crash is around the corner, and it could be triggered by a powerful group of individuals whose efforts are intended to simply sabotage Donald Trump's presidency. And the worst part? Hardworking Americans who saved diligently for retirement are the ones who will feel it the most. We've documented how Doug expects this market crash and recession to play out, how it's aimed at the Trump presidency, and who's behind it. And yes, what simple steps you should take now if you want to survive financially and live peacefully under the radar when it all goes down. To watch this free presentation, go to www.badnews2020.com and watch for free. Once again, that's www.badnews2020.com and listen to what Doug has to say.
I am going to be reviewing both the genesis and the conduct of intelligence activities directed at the Trump campaign during 2016. And a lot has already been a lot of this has already been investigated, and a substantial portion of it has been investigated and is being investigated by the Office of Inspector General at the department. But one of the things I want to do is pull together all the information from the various investigations that have gone on, including on the Hill and in the department, and see if there are any remaining questions to be addressed.
And can you share with us why you feel a need to do that?
Well, for the same reason we're worried about foreign influence in elections. We want to make sure that during an election, I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. It's a big deal. Generation I grew up in, which was the Vietnam War period, people were all concerned about spying on anti-war people and so forth by the government. And there were a lot of rules put in place to make sure that there's an adequate basis before our law enforcement agencies get involved in political surveillance. I'm not suggesting that those rules were violated, but I think it's important to look at that. And I'm not talking about the FBI necessarily, but intelligence agencies more broadly.
So you're not suggesting, though, that spying occurred?
I don't. I guess you could. I think spying did occur. Yes, I think spying did occur.
Well, let me...
But the question is whether it was adequately predicated. And I'm not suggesting it wasn't adequately predicated, but I need to explore that. I think it's my obligation. Congress is usually very concerned about intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies staying in their proper lane, and I want to make sure that happened. We have a lot of rules about that. And I want to say that I've said I'm reviewing this. I haven't set up a team yet, but I have in mind having some colleagues help me pull all this information together and let me know whether there's some areas that should be looked at. And I also want to make clear this is not launching an investigation of the FBI. Frankly, to the extent there were any issues at the FBI, I do not view it as a problem that's endemic to the FBI. I think there was probably a failure among a group of leaders there at the upper echelon, and so I don't like to hear attacks about the FBI because I think the FBI is an outstanding organization, and I think Chris Wray is a great partner for me. I'm very pleased that he's there as the director, and if it becomes necessary to look over some former officials' activities, I expect that I'll be relying heavily on Chris and work closely with him in looking at that information. But that's what I'm doing. I feel I have an obligation to make sure that government power is not abused. I mean, I think that's one of the principal roles of the Attorney General.
Speechless. Gene is speechless. William Barr said it so perfectly, so succinctly. We need to be worried about overreach of these government agencies. We cannot simply allow for the leadership of these agencies, these intelligence agencies, multiple and foreign intelligence agencies. We cannot just allow them to start spying on us or to start spying on our political campaigns, or for the leadership of our government to abuse the tools that we have granted them. This is vitally important to the life of our republic. We cannot allow these things to happen, and Attorney General Barr is taking care of it. Cleaning house. Cleaning house. All right, and speaking about that spying, here from the Daily Caller, there is a report that the DOJ watchdog is scrutinizing FBI informant who made contact with the Trump campaign. That would be Stefan Halper. We've got him right here. We know he has a very varied and long-standing career with certain intelligence agencies. The Justice Department's Inspector General is reportedly scrutinizing the FBI's use of former professor Stefan Halper as a confidential informant during the investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Michael Horowitz, the DOJ Inspector General, has inquired about Halper, a former Cambridge University professor who has been identified in the press as a longtime FBI and clown informant, according to the New York Times. And I believe that he is still missing. Horowitz's investigators have been asking questions about Halper's work with the FBI, including prior to his involvement in the Trump-Russia probe, the Times reported. The Daily Caller News Foundation reported March 25, 2018, that Halper, who worked in the Nixon, Ford, and Reagan administrations, made contact during the 2016 campaign with Trump aides Carter Page, Sam Clovis, and George Papadee. He was identified as a government informant by the Times and the Washington Post in May 2018. Horowitz is looking into whether the FBI was aware of Halper's contact with Clovis, who served as co-chairman of Trump's campaign, according to the Times. Horowitz began investigating the FBI's handling of the investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian government March 28, 2018. The investigation has centered on the FBI's use of the Steele dossier to obtain surveillance warrants against Page. Horowitz has also probed the FBI's relationship with Christopher Steele, the author of the dossier, as well as Steele's contacts with Bruce Orr, a Justice Department official who served as a back channel between the dossier author and the FBI. Earlier Tuesday, Attorney General William Barr told Congress Horowitz is likely to wrap up his investigation by May or June. President Donald Trump has criticized the FBI over its use of Halper as an informant, dubbing the affair Spygate. Government officials have anonymously pushed back on the term, claiming Halper did not work as a spy against the campaign. Bull. Halper's first known campaign contact was with Page, July 11, 2016, several weeks before the FBI formally opened its counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign. Halper and Page remained in contact through September 2017, the same month the government ended its surveillance of Page. Halper reached out to Clovis in late August 2016, saying he had been in contact with Page and wanted to discuss campaign-related matters. Days after the pair met, Halper contacted Papa D with an offer to pay the young Trump aide $3,000 and a trip to London to discuss writing a policy paper on Mediterranean energy issues. Papa D made the trip and met with Halper and his purported assistant, Azra Turk. Papa D claims Halper and Turk asked him probing questions about his knowledge of Russian plans to release Clinton campaign emails. Halper, who is in his 70s, might have also been involved in an effort to provide U.S. intelligence with derogatory information on hero Michael Flynn, the former National Security Advisor. Halper reportedly raised concerns about Flynn's interactions with the Russian-born Cambridge graduate student in 2014 when he served as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. The student, Svetlana Lakova, has vehemently denied insinuations in the press that she tried to compromise Flynn during his visit to Cambridge. The Times reported one of Halper's Cambridge associates passed Halper's concerns about Flynn to American intelligence officials. Again, a snow job on General Flynn and an attempt to entrap and ensnare these other people involved in the Trump campaign and the burgeoning administration at the time. Stefan Halper clearly was a spy. Stefan Halper was working on behalf of the FBI and perhaps other intelligence agencies. Stefan Halper, again, as I said earlier, is still missing. With Stefan Halper missing, he can't testify. So it's just going to remain to be seen. Is Stefan Halper gone for good, or is he just underground for the time being? Now, one more story on Spygate. Trump unloads on the deep state. Mueller probe was an attempted coup. Treason. Bad people. We fight back because we know how illegal this was. Yes, we do, Mr. President. President Trump paused to speak to reporters on Wednesday before his flight to Texas. The president unloaded on the deep state and Mueller probe of 18 angry Democrats. Trump called the deep state antics an attempted coup. Treason. Bad people. President Trump did not hold back. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Major, what's the current thinking of releasing as much of the Mueller report as possible? Well, the Mueller report's interesting. After $35 million, with 13 increased to 18 angry Democrats, people that truly hated Donald Trump, they found no collusion whatsoever with Russia. But I could have told you that, and so could most people, and so could have everybody that voted for me, which was a lot of people. So after wasting all of this money and all of this time with people that were haters, people that worked on the Hillary Clinton Foundation, people that were absolutely haters of Trump, they found no collusion. What has been found during this period of time are the illegal acts of getting this whole phony investigation started. And hopefully that's where people are going now. That's where people are going. And it's very interesting. It was an illegal investigation, Major. It was an illegal investigation. It was started illegally. Everything about it was crooked. Every single thing about it. There were dirty cops. These were bad people. You look at McCabe and Comey, and you look at Lisa and Peter Strzok. These were bad people. And this was an attempted coup. This was an attempted takedown of a president. And we beat them. We beat them. So the Mueller report, when they talk about obstruction, we fight back. And you know why we fight back? Because I knew how illegal this whole thing was. It was a scam. And what I'm most interested in, what I'm most interested in is getting started. Hopefully the Attorney General, he mentioned it yesterday, he's doing a great job. getting started on going back to the origins of exactly where this all started, because this was an illegal witch hunt, and everybody knew it, and they knew it too, and they got caught. And what they did was treason. What they did was terrible. What they did was against our Constitution and everything we stand for. So hopefully that will happen. There is a hunger for that to happen in this country like I have never seen before, including all of the millions of people that voted for me. What they did was disgraceful. There's never been anything like it in the history of our country. Thank you.
Senate Republicans have concerns about Herman Cain. Is his nomination safe?
Well, I like Herman Cain, and Herman will make that determination. Herman is a wonderful man. He's been a supporter of mine for a long time. He actually ran a very good campaign, and that's up to Herman. Herman is, he's already sat on one of the Fed boards, and he's just somebody I like a lot. As to how he's doing in the process, that I don't know. You go through a process. But Herman's a great guy, and I hope he does well.
Stephen Miller is running the whole security apparatus. Have you ever thought about making Stephen Miller the DHS secretary?
Now, Stephen is an excellent guy. He's a wonderful person. People don't know him. He's been with me from the beginning. He's a brilliant man. And frankly, there's only one person that's running it. You know who that is? It's me.
It's me. I'm running the show. Nobody's going to tell President Trump how to handle his business. He is the man in charge, the guy in the driver's seat. People work for President Trump. Nobody's running this stuff except him. Now, I love how President Trump is coming right out and saying exactly what happened. There was no collusion. These were bad people. They were dirty cops, and they would do anything to make sure that he wouldn't be elected or that he would be deposed from power. And we fight because they are wrong. They beat him. They beat him, and now it's time to put them away, put them to bed for good. Now, I'm sure you all remember the story about Jackson Costco. Jackson Costco was the Senate aide who was instrumental, you might say the mastermind, behind doxing certain Senate Republicans during the Kavanaugh hearings. Well, there was a second staffer who was an accomplice in this. And it was also another aide to Maggie Hassan. Now, second former aide to Senator Maggie Hassan is implicated in former IT staffer Jackson Costco's massive data theft scheme that was ultimately used to intimidate Republican senators by doxing them during a confirmation hearing for Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, prosecutors said. Samantha G. DeForest Davis, at the time a staff assistant to Hassan, was the aide who allegedly helped Costco conduct his scheme, a source with knowledge of the situation told the Daily Caller News Foundation. Court records show a case naming her has been opened, and the source confirmed it relates to her alleged role in the data theft. She filed an affidavit that can be used to assess her eligibility for a public defender, but she has not been charged with any crimes, court records show. Costco pled guilty April 5th to masterminding what prosecutors said was an extraordinarily extensive data theft scheme, copying entire network drives, sorting and organizing sensitive data, and exploring ways to use that data to his benefit. He admitted to stealing tens of thousands of documents and emails from Hassan's office, in addition to credit card information and social security numbers belonging to Senate employees. The data also included a master list of senators' private information that Costco posted to Wikipedia out of anger at Republicans during the Supreme Court nomination hearings, prosecutors said. Look at that. Look at his crib sheet. Back up all files. Mail backup. Burn aliases. Wipe down computers. Costco's lawyer said drugs contributed to his admitted crimes, but a statement of facts prosecutors filed as part of Costco's plea agreement describes an elaborate, months-long scheme involving two people. Must have been some good drugs, because he was on them for a long time. The data was stolen from Hassan's office in months of late-night burglaries between July and October 2018 after Costco was fired that May for different misconduct that Hassan, a New Hampshire Democrat, has declined to explain, according to the statement. I bet you he was blackmailing her. DeForest Davis, identified in court documents only as Subject A, allegedly, repeatedly, provided Costco a key that he used to enter the office at night and install tiny devices that capture every keystroke, including passwords, that were then used to further access materials, according to the statement. Costco was apparently caught in the act by a Hassan staffer in October 2018. The accomplice went to the office and wiped down keyboards and mice to erase any fingerprints, prosecutors said. On January 24th, prosecutors said the defendant is cooperating, though they noted the government isn't convinced that he is fully cooperative. 6 days earlier, a case called USA versus DeForest Davis was opened in D.C. federal court. Costco was released on bail the next month. DeForest Davis has not been charged with any crimes, but the court records show she filed a CJA 23 financial affidavit. Court records in unrelated cases show that a CJA 23 financial affidavit can serve two purposes: to establish whether someone facing or expecting to face charges qualifies for a public defender, and, since it is an outlining of one's finances submitted under penalty of perjury, to prosecute the person for lying in order to hide money he or she had received. DeForest Davis did not respond to a request for comment. DeForest Davis was on Hassan's payroll with a $43,000 salary at the time the indictments occurred, but is not any longer, Senate documents show. She began working for Hassan in August 2017 after graduating Augustana College in Illinois and serving a short stint as a fellow at the League of United Latin American Citizens, according to her LinkedIn profile. In 2015, she wrote on LULAC's website, identifying as a half African-American and half Caucasian woman, many people questioned why I wanted to intern at LULAC for the summer. They thought I should be spending my time within my own demographic, serving my own people and representing my own culture. Her Instagram says she was raised in Wisconsin. Hassan is a member of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs. Costco is the Bernie Sanders supporting son of a millionaire who with close ties to California politicians, the DCNF previously reported. His father is the past head of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce and is CEO of a company that constructed a building named after the husband of Democratic California Senator Dianne Feinstein. The California senator is the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, which held the hearings regarding Kavanaugh's nomination. Costco once interned in Feinstein's office. Prosecutors said in an earlier court filing that Costco expressed intention to commit more similar crimes while charges were pending, but in December 2018, his lawyer argued strenuously to get the slightly framed 27-year-old out of general population in D.C. Must have been uncomfortable for Jackson while he was in there. A months-long heist. Court documents said Costco feared his termination by Hassan in May 2018 would stymie his career, but Democratic Texas Rep. Sheila Jackson Lee hired him soon after. Her office has declined to explain whether it received a reference from Hassan's office. Working with the accomplice, he orchestrated a series of break-ins from July to October 2018, installing keyloggers that captured every stroke on 6 Hassan computers and sorted information into folders, such as one marked high value, prosecutors said. On September 27th, Costco became angry while watching the Kavanaugh hearings on TV, the statement of fact shows. From his house computer in Jackson Lee's office, using data previously stolen from Hassan's Senate office, Costco responded by maliciously publishing the home addresses, personal home addresses, and telephone numbers of Republican senators to Wikipedia with the intent to intimidate them, and with the knowledge and intent that others would use that information to intimidate, according to the statement. The senators included Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Orrin Hatch of Utah, Mike Lee of Utah, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, and after he called for finding and punishing the suspect, Rand Paul of Kentucky. On October 2nd, DeForest Davis allegedly provided Costco the keys, knowing that he intended to unlawfully enter the senator's office that night, prosecutors said. A Hassan aide who recognized Costco as a fired staffer caught him there, and Costco fled and then emailed the witness, "If you tell anyone, I will leak it all." Email signal conversations, Gmails, senators, children's health information, and socials, the statement of fact shows. The next morning, he met with the accomplice to return the key and asked her to wipe down all of the computers, keyboards, and computer mice and to unplug the computers in Senator Hassan's office, according to the statement. DeForest Davis allegedly wiped off fingerprints, but then after Hassan's staffer identified as witness 3 entered the area, DeForest Davis allegedly texted Costco and said, "Hey, so I was able to wipe down the keys and mouse, but witness was coming, so I could not do the other thing. Sorry, I couldn't do everything," according to the statement. Didn't matter. They were already sealed in their fate. Among other crimes, Costco pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice. Here are the actual court documents. Jackson Alexander Costco. What a slime ball. And this is another great article from Luke Rosiak. I just got the Luke Rosiak book from my mom. I'm going to start reading that later on today. Well, I think that the idea that he did this because of drugs is just pure ludicrousness. If he was on drugs, he would have had a hard time making it into the office. And even if he was doing drugs that would be stimulating to him, I think that he would probably still have a hard time putting this whole caper together. This sounds more like he was just a very focused criminal looking to do anything he could to compromise and intimidate people that had differing ideals and views from him. This is the perfect encapsulation of what it means to be a liberal. Oopsie. Looks like Maxine Waters, the head of the banking committee, asks bankers about student loans, but she had no idea the government took over the program in 2010. Oh, man. The House Banking Committee, led by distinguished Democrat Representative Maxine Waters, called in the nation's top bankers on Wednesday to lecture them on greed and political correctness. During her questioning, Mad Maxine asked the bankers about what they were doing to help those suffering with student loan debt. The bankers quickly reminded the Banking Committee chairperson that the government took over the program in 2010. Chairman Maxine was completely dumbstruck. This is the Democratic Party's banking expert. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Thank you. Today there are more than 44 million Americans that owe, this is student loan crisis, $1.56 trillion in student loan debt. Last month, this committee received testimony that last year 1 million student loan borrowers defaulted, which is on top of the 1 million borrowers who defaulted the year before. What are you guys doing to help us with the student loan debt? Who would like to answer first? Mr. Monahan, Big Bank.
We stopped making student loans in 2007 or so.
Oh, so you don't do it anymore. Mr. Corbett?
We exited student lending in 2009.
Mr. Diamond?
When the government took over student lending in 2010 or so, we stopped doing all student lending.
Thank you. What about small business?
Jamie Dimon just saved her right there. He knew she was going to go through every single person on the panel. Now, what I really like is... Where is it? That guy right there. He knows that the government took over student loans back in 2010. It's like, what are you doing, Maxine? What are you doing? What are you doing? What have you been doing in government this whole time? Certainly not paying attention. All right, everyone. Well, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.